Yo, now it's the Red Blue Podcast crew. Reviewing flicks, both old and new. Red and blue, not political. Nah, man, chill. It was Marvel versus DC till we lost that thrill. Don't stress the episode, don't ask the season. We double up franchises, don't ask for a reason. Moti's got rules that nobody gets. His takes on movies, they're wild as it gets. He's got superbald Mac and Gray by his side. Trying to keep it sane while they're in for the ride. Moti's measures are out of control, but in the end he's got the final role. Yeah, that Blue Podcast, come check the scene. Movies old and new, know what I mean?
And we are live talking about movies once again. My cousin Vinny and Wayne's World, two very different but interesting movie from the same era. How are you, Superbald?
I'm doing good. I think I'm coming down with a cold or might be allergies. It's hard to tell, but I'm not feeling 100%.
I feel you. I feel you. I feel you for very different reason. What about you, Matt?
I'm fine. I'm happy to be there and talk to cinema with you guys. And yeah, I'm intrigued to talk about these two movies. I don't, and yeah, and Muti, how you doing?
I've known better, but I'm here and I'm glad to be here for another great show. With that being said, Super Bowl, before we let Matt start with his review, I will ask you, why did you choose My Cousin Vinny?
This has been a favorite of mine for pretty much since it came out. I saw it a long time ago, and I think it's just a great movie and an underrated movie. Um, yeah, it was quite popular at the time. It was a big success, and as I'll get into later, Marissa Tomei got an Oscar for this movie. But I think like younger people are not as aware of it.
That's true. I speak for myself, but I heard about it, but I've never seen it, and I didn't really know. I just knew the name. What about you, Matt? Would you agree with what I said? Since we are around very similar realms of age.
I know the existence of this movie before I see the movie. I never see this movie before. I know this movie was famous back then. I want to see the movie for so many years, and now I have the chance, and I'm happy that Super choose this movie for this episode. And yeah, you want to my opinion about
Yes.
this? Yeah.
Yes. What did you think of the movie? Let's get into it.
So yeah, My Cousin Vinny is an interesting movie. I love this movie very much. I'm a big fan about movie on in the court and the court story, where you follow a lawyer, try to freedom innocent people who try to take a criminal to jail with the court. And I love this kind of movie. I'm a big fan of Better Call Saul TV show. As a TV show, we follow a lawyer, and he tried to be a good lawyer, but the life is not easy for him. One of the best show I see in my life, and I love this kind of story. And the story is not the same, but he has the same base. You will follow the story is for two kids travel the country to go to California, and the two kids was arrested in charge of murder, but the two kids are innocent. So one of them called this cousin Vinny. Vinny is a new lawyer. He never played before, and he go to this little town in Alabama to save this cousin. And Vinny is a unique kind of character. He come with this fiancée Mona Lisa. The duo is the duo is so funny to follow. I think Joe Pesci has so much fun to do that role, and Marissa Tomei pretty much the same. The two are too funny. Vinny is a weird lawyer, and he bullshit this way, and so many times in the movie. Many times the judge tried to know if he's a true lawyer or not, and he bullshit each time to continue to be a lawyer there. He is a lawyer, but not official, I think. And one thing I love about this story is that many times in the movie you have this fiancée Mona Lisa, played by the beautiful Marisa Tomei. She said many times, I want to help you, and the character played by Duplessis Vincent say, "Oh, you can help me. I need to do that on my own." And in the end, he has some kind of evaluation, and he understands that he needs the help of this fiancé, and the fiancé help him to win the case. I love the this twist. I love the way that was built, and I love each scene in the courts. The way the Vincent destroy all evidence to prove that the cousin is innocent. I like that. I like the humor he used. He has so many good phrase and the catchphrase in this movie. And yeah, good movie. And you have your young Ralph Macchio, not famous for be the Karate Kid. He have a small role in it. He's one of the two boy called for cousin Vinny, and it's okay in the movie. It's not a big role, but it's fun to see him there because back then he was a star. He started become famous with Karate Kid, the other movie, but after the 90s, this character not lip off, and he can disappear in the after that. Now he's become back with the Cobra Kai TV show and other stuff. But then he was a very young, prominent actor, and he can sad he had not be have other big role after Karate Kid and that movie, other movie had done. He have done a movie where he play he play guitar. He's a musician. I don't remember the title of this movie, but he was good in it. So
Crossroads, it was called.
yeah, it was also the other good movie.
There was later another movie called Crossroads with Britney Spears. That's not the one. That's not.
Uh,
It's a different movie with the same title.
yeah, funny joke, but yeah, in the end, I feel it's one of the best movie was made back then. It's not a big movie, but it's so well crafted. So the story is so perfect. It's not a big story, but the way it is built and the emotion in it and the duo we follow, played by Joe Pesci and Marisa Tomei, is so perfect in it. I love this movie. It's a very good movie, and a movie you need to see in your life. When I finished this movie, I was so excited. I want to see the movie again. I will wait, of course, but in some time I want to rewatch this movie to feel this emotion again. And yeah, I think I say pretty much I want to say about this movie. It can close to be a perfect movie. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing. What did you think of my cousin Vinny, Superbald?
As I said, I love this movie since it came out. I saw it. I don't think I saw it in theaters, but I probably saw it on home video around the time it came out or on cable, and I've always been a fan of it. Yeah, it was a big hit at the time, very critically acclaimed. Um, and as I said, Marissa Tomei won an award for it. Um, I rewatching it. There's some things because I hadn't watched it in a long time. I do have it on sorry, not VHS, DVD. Um, I had not watched it in a long time. There's things I'd forgotten. I've gotten an even better appreciation for it for having rewatched it. And I'm from a small town, so there's some things I could relate to, things I found funny. Like the opening sequence when they're driving through the country, they see a sign that says dirt for sale, and they see a house covered in hubcaps and stuff like this. These are all things I've seen in and around my hometown. Um, I really want. This is not a new thing. A lot of movies have done this, but I really appreciated the fish out of water type of scenario. Um, One thing I did like about it that I hadn't really noticed before, it avoided a lot of negative stereotypes about Southerners, which is good.
Mm.
It wasn't stereotypical where like everybody's a hick and a redneck and that kind of thing. And yeah, a couple of the towns folks are like that. It does play a bit into stereotypes, but I'm from a small town. I can tell you there are actually people like that in small towns. So it's not. Sometimes stereotypes are true.
Yeah.
But when it came to like the judge, the police, the opposing lawyer, and all that, they didn't like portray them as being who you dumb rednecks. They portray them as being, good and competent at what they do. Um, and hold on. This movie is actually has been praised by a lot of lawyers and judges and other people in the legal profession for its accuracy in courtroom procedures and things like that. Because a lot of like movies, especially like what we reviewed not too long ago, like Kramer versus Kramer and Justice for All, those certain movies like that often take a bit of liberties about what what is actually allowed in a courtroom, or in some movies they downright do things that are not even legal or allowed. Um, this movie has been praised for its accuracy, and I think it's even shown to students in some law schools. From what I read, there are some things in the movie that aren't realistic. Apparently, the only real thing that it's like really truly not realistic is that uh, Joe Pesci would not be allowed to represent both of those guys. They would have to each have their own lawyer because of conflict of interest reasons. He wouldn't be allowed to represent both of them. That's the only thing apparently. The rest is like almost 100% like accurate. Um,
That's interesting to know. I'm wondering, is it because one of the two is the cousin?
no, I think it's just because if ever, because sometimes in situations like this, I mean, in this movie, these two guys are innocent, but in real life situations where they're probably not innocent, one might cut a deal to testify against the other, type of thing. I
Oh,
think
okay,
that might be. I
the
think that's
reason.
why. I think it's for conflict of interest reasons
That makes
that.
sense.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think. Anyways, I'm not a lawyer, don't know, but I think that's from what I read. That's the only thing that's like wasn't in real life. He would not be able to be allowed to represent both of them. But anyways, that's I think in the grand scheme of things a very minor thing. Um, and yeah, it's as Matt was saying, the duo of Joe Pesci and Marissa Tomei, they are just perfect in this movie. They just play off each other so well. Um, they are so, and Marissa Tomei is amazing in this movie. A lot of people criticized the decision to give her an Oscar for this movie, but I think she totally deserved it. Because it's pretty rare that comedies will win awards, and some people are of the opinion comedy should not win these type of prestigious awards. Um, but I think she totally deserved it. I'm a big critic of a lot of movies that I'm not a big fan of the Oscars, period. But I think in this case they really got it right. Um, yeah, at the time this was made, this came out in 1992. Joe Pesci was kind of like on a hot streak. He had just done like Goodfellas, Home Alone, Lethal Weapon 2, and he had a bunch of other good, big starring roles come out in the years after this, Casino and a bunch of other movies. So this is when he was really at the height of his career, and I think he was just perfectly cast in this movie. And he was playing against type too, because he had played like a lot of gangsters and stuff like that, and tough guys. I mean, he's a bit of a tough guy in this movie, but he's playing a lawyer, which is something I think he had never done before. Um, Marissa Tomei, as I said, won an Oscar for this. I don't know how well known she was at the time. This definitely made her famous if she wasn't already. And I remember her being in a bunch of movies around this time too. So I think this is when her career was really at its peak. Um, Going back to the Oscar, for a long time there was this urban legend that she didn't really win. That I think it was Jack Nicholson who was like reading the envelope and said the wrong name, and they gave it to her anyway. But that's not true, because there are actually when during the Oscars telecast, there are actually people waiting off stage to intervene if ever something like that ever happened, and it has happened. It happened a few years ago, I think, when
Uh,
what was that movie, Spotlight, or
with La La Land, and he missed the for the best movie.
yes,
And
that's it. Yeah. So there are people ready to intervene if ever like a
yeah,
situation like that happens. So that is not true. She won this fair and square. Um, And as Matt said, Ralph Macchio, who was famous in the '80s for the Karate Kid, that's where I knew him from before seeing this. And he was, as you mentioned, Crossroads, the 1985 or '86 movie Crossroads, not the later movie with Britney Spears that came out, which was absolute garbage. Um, yeah, and yeah, he hasn't hold. I haven't don't remember seeing him in anything else, honestly, after Karate Kid. I
Yeah.
think he was involved in Cobra Kai, the TV series that's like a continuation of Karate Kid, I think.
Yeah, he's in
But
it. He's one of the main actor. He
okay,
did, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But
but
yeah,
it would make sense that he would be in that because I mean he was the star of Karate Kid. So
exactly.
um, the judge, I love the judge in this movie. He was played by the late Fred Gwynn. This was his last movie role actually because he had cancer while filming this and died a year later. He was mostly known for TV shows he did in the '60s, like he was in The Munsters and also Car 54. Where Are You? I think he was also in Pet Cemetery. I can't remember for sure. But yeah, this was his last movie role. Lane Smith as the opposing lawyer. I knew him from The Mighty Ducks, which came out the same year as this. Um, he was the rival coach in that movie. That's what I mostly knew him from. This and My Cousin Vinny, and he was also in Lois and Clark, the TV show in the '90s
Yeah,
about Superman.
Yes, Clark.
yeah.
Yeah.
That he
Yeah,
was very white.
yeah.
Oh, Perry White.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, so yeah, he was a solid character actor. He was also in another movie around this time that I remember watching with um, I forget the guy's name, but the dude from Encino Man, Pauly Shore. It was called Son-in-Law. It was a dumb comedy from this era. Don't remember much about it. But I remember he was in it. So you know he had a steady career going at the time. Um, some of the other actors as well. You know the different witnesses and such all played. You know the actually Canadian actor or legendary Canadian actor, the late Maury Chaykin. He played the witness, the one who was cooking his grits. He's like no.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is like no self-respect and Sutton would ever eat instant grits. Yeah, he's been in a. He was never like a big actor, but he was been in a lot of like critically acclaimed stuff. Um,
I like this scene where he
mm,
say, "You cook your grit more fast than everyone on Earth. It take
yeah,
you it take 20 minutes, and you take 5 minutes." That's funny.
yeah. Um, what and I noticed this time around watching the movie that the script is very tight. There's like little in this that it doesn't go anywhere or superfluous. It's a very tight script, a very efficient script. Every and I think and it follows closely the concept of Chekhov's gun, which I've mentioned I think in other episodes here. It's a concept in storytelling that everything that you pay attention, that you draw attention to, or talk about, or whatever, has to serve some purpose in the story. And I'd say they mostly follow this. There's a few things in the movie that aren't like that, like the that redneck guy from the bar who owes him money. Like that doesn't really have much to do with the script, but it's funny, you know. Uh, that's why that's in there. But most everything else, like when he goes for breakfast um, in the restaurant and he sees the guy cooking the grits, well, that comes back later when he asks the guy, "Well, how long did it take you to cook your grits?" Um, Also, when he's talking with the opposing lawyer and he explains that a judge had inspired him to become to inspire Joe Pesci's character to go to become a lawyer. Excuse me, because he had argued about a traffic ticket or something. Well, that comes back later because we learn that Marissa Tomei had called that judge, and so that he could, uh, lie to the judge Fred Gwynn, the judge in this case, about him being lawyer Jerry Callow. Um, so yeah, no, I think this is a really great movie, really underrated. Um, and yeah, it was a big hit at the time, but it sort of got forgotten after. But I think it's a movie that, even though it's 30 some odd years old, it still holds up.
I
That's
I
agree.
feel you.
pretty much all I have to say.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. So I
Mhm.
guess that's my turn. I was surprised. I enjoyed it so much. And again, sometimes old movies I just don't connect. And it's kind of funny how this one I connected very much with it. And I think it's the perfect follow up for what we talked about last week. Uh, I think it's fitting very much that they are so close by each other, and that's by accident, to be
Mhm.
honest,
Yeah.
because I had not seen these movies prior. I knew about the other two being connected, but I didn't know my cousin Vinny could have worked well last week as well. Uh, that's a nice surprise, and I'd say it's not as good as Injustice for All and
Mhm.
Kramer versus Kramer, and maybe that's why people maybe not recognize it as much as the other two. Uh, I again, I think it's still canon known because I knew it existed. I didn't know what it was, but um, I heard about it. So I guess that's a good thing. Now, I had two issues with it, and I will get blasted for one of the two because it relies a lot on suspension of disbelief I cannot really make. So let's get with the first issue I had. Uh, Despite the humor working in many instances, it was repetitive and overplayed. Most jokes were about Vinny being stupid and useless and messing up. And again, I think by the end of the movie, it felt earned how he won and how he became competent to some extent. I think that's part of his character arc, but I feel like maybe having other jokes straying away from him being stupid and competent could have been maybe slightly better. It's just like it's the same kind of stuff James Gunn does a lot in a lot of the things he does. And maybe Matt sees what I try to mean by there. Um, and now, my second issue. My second issue. Well, despite the statement of corruption, it's simply not believable how they would so easily pin the murder of the leads on the leads because they had an alibi and they most likely didn't even know the victim. The case was so circumstantial it won't hold on in any court. Why would lying witness would be taken seriously? But again, I I get it. Suspension of disbelief. The movie says they are corrupt, but
I think you don't understand that in the state, the justice is not the same there
Mm.
in Canada, and
Yeah.
too many innocent people
Mm.
are charged for crime, and you have so many people on in jail are innocent. That's a problem in the state. You have a similar case here, but not as big. So I feel that real for the purpose of the movie because it is certainly real in this country. We have so many innocent charged for a crime they did not have commit, and so many people go to jail. These two kids for the movie not go to jail, but in real life, for a big chance that he go to jail. That's what all he work.
And in fairness, in this movie, I mean, it turns out, the crime was committed by people who had a similar car and were similar looking to the, the the two um, the two characters. So in this movie, you could understand why uh, they were pinning it on them, because they didn't really have much of an alibi, because they were just they were driving down the road. Nobody saw them besides the clerk who's dead. So um, yeah.
I I still feel like they stretch a lot. They
Well,
stretch a lot.
yeah, definitely, it is a movie, and as I said,
It's
there's things in this movie that aren't realistic at all.
yeah.
But
So that's how I feel. I kind of had seen it coming. So yeah, now despite my dislikes, there's many things I did enjoy a lot. Uh, the police precinct scene early in the movie was quite entertaining. The prison sequence was also fun, and it's also funny how bad Vinny was since he failed 5 times, and maybe he lied even on that because like he's full of crap. So maybe he didn't even go at law school. Uh, so that's kind of funny. That aspect was enjoyable. Um, each restaurant scene were kind of entertaining, and the lawyer being incompetent was kind of cool because that was his character arc to become like worthy of that title by the end. Uh, and I will say the bar argument was interesting. It was fun, and now the two leads facing the chair. That's very typical of the USA because they like capital punishment.
Mhm.
They do like it a lot. So
Especially in the South.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitively.
Mm.
So that's really into the DNA of that movie, which is very interesting. Um, now the next thing to enjoy, nice theme, all flawed. The justice system is. I think it addressed it very well, even if it did stretch my suspicion of disbelief a bit too much for my own taste. I think that was still a team in that movie, and that was kind of cool. Well shown how there's no due process, and everyone was incompetent in the town. The lawyer was well shown to be a liar. Nice team of corrupt cop inside the small town was really cool. And I don't have a lot to say outside of that. I think overall that was a fun movie. I don't think it come close to uh, Injustice for All and Kramer versus Kramer, but it's still a very fun flick. Any closing thought, Matt or Superbald?
I just remember a running gag about this movie. Go through all the movie. Each time Vinny go to sleep, he has something keep him to sleep, and each night he says something new. That was funny because each time he new thing to stop him to sleep. Train, people, pig, etc. That was a funny running gag. All the movie. Each night he can sleep, and that was funny.
One thing I did find funny too is because he's from New York, he's used to noise. So when that night he spent in the cabin out in the woods, it was too quiet for him. And the only time he seemed to get like a really good night's sleep is the night that he slept in prison and there was a riot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's a riot going on and he's just like sound asleep.
That was a funny
And
gag.
as I said, I grew up in a small town, and after I moved to the city, I notice the difference now when I go back to visit family at night. It's like the noise level is so different.
I feel you. I lived 2 year in a city, and I don't like that because the noise is so intense. And I'm from a little town,
Mhm.
and I prefer that, and that's why
Yeah.
I go back in my city. The noise is
It's
so.
not too bad for me because I live kind of on the outskirts of the city, so there's not had too much heavy traffic where I live. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
What would be your grade out of 10, Matt?
I will say I will give a similar rank that for Creamer and Creamer. I feel it's close to a 9 of 10. So I will give like 8.9 of 10 for this movie. I love pretty much all it was in this movie, and I feel one of the things the movie works so great is the duo of actor Drew Pesci and Marisa Tomei are so perfect in it, so funny, so likable character. And the all the story with the court and the way Vinny win the case, I love that so much. So for me, it's easy in 8.9 of 10 for this movie.
I feel you, and I will second you by also adding this. I think in the very end, when they won, it felt earned because at first it was so bad, and he ended up being really good at just being like, you know what, let's debunk the BS, and I enjoyed that ending. So That movie deserves a 8.5 out of 10 for me. What about you, Superbald?
Um, I just thought of something, just to go back to what you said. I personally didn't see the police department as being corrupt because, given the circumstantial evidence, it seemed to point to these two characters, and I never saw them as being like corrupt. That's just my observation, my opinion. But that's just it. As for a grade, um, I think this is my second time I've done this. I'm going for a 10 out of 10.
Oh, very interesting. So I guess this is the segue for the next movie, Wayne's World. Why did you choose Wayne's World, Superbald?
Again, favorite of mine. I saw that when it came out. I was, I don't know, like 11, 12 when this came out. Not quite in the target demographic, but I think it was aimed more towards teens and young adults, but I really enjoyed it at the time. Um, yeah, as you said, though, they're two very, very different movies. I don't know if you want me to get into that now or if you want to let
I
someone
will
else
let
talk,
Matt
talk
go
for, yeah.
first. Thank you for sharing why did you pick it. Matt, go ahead with Wayne's World.
So I know the existence of this movie, simple because it's the first movie with Michael Myers. That was the first movie I've done. Mike Myers, sorry, not Michael Myers. Michael Myers is the killer. Mike Myers, sorry, it's the same. And Mike Myers. This is the first movie I've done. Before that, he was a comic for SNL, and he was very good at it. He's a funny guy and the when what and originally it was a sketch he have done for the SNL, and the SNL the sketch was so appreciated, so fun. He tried to build that around the movie and create this movie and create a sequel because this movie has a sequel when World Two, and for this movie was the most big hit for SNL back then because SNL don't have many movie back then like the Blues Brother, A Night at Roxbury, other movie like that. He tried to do so many comedy with comic from the show, but back then when what was the most bigger he have done, and as today is one of the bigger he has done too. It was a phenomenon back then. I not follow that. I never see the movie before today. I see the movie. I would say I understand why this movie was so big hit back then. That but not totally my cup of tea. I will say. I like some element in the movie. Mike Myers was funny to follow, but I'm not a fan of this kind of humor. Or maybe this kind of movie was too much in this movie. I feel I like the movie, but not maybe as much as Super Bowl or maybe you. I love some kind of humor, but this humor maybe was too much for me. I like the concept. You follow these two guys have a TV show on a space band of this parent, and the two guys are weird, very weird character, and he can break the fourth wall. And the two are big nerds, and the character played by Mike Meyer, Wayne, fell in love with this beautiful singer played by Tia Carrier, and the name the singer is Cassandra Wong. He tried the two the chance to become famous because that's a producer played by Rob Lowe want to take this show to be a big commercial hit for sell so many stuff, and basically all the story is that, and you have so many gag in it. For I feel the best gag for me was the cameo of the Terminator, and for in the end of the movie when they tried to go back to some place and he was arrested by a cop, and the cop show up and put out the helmet, and he take a picture. You have seen this kid? He's like, ah, and he escaped. And the same actor to play the Terminator and Terminator 2. Yeah, some this actor do some cameo like that back then. He had done the same, pretty much same cameo, and the Last Action Hero. you can see in the background and some scene. He was big back then as the actor. He's a very good actor. Now he do many TV show. And now he's in the new season of Tulsa King, a very great show with Sylvester Stallone. You need to see that if you know it's not really. But back for this movie, like I say, I was difficulty to enjoy the humor of the movie. I like the character of Wayne played by Mike Myers. Other than that, I feel that at some moment the humor was so too much. I like some little element in it. You have the teaser gun scene and the club. The character guard played by Dana Curry use a teaser gun to beat a big guy. I would feel that was funny scene. And you have in the end you have the three ending of the movie, and you have the Scooby Doo ending. And I'm a huge fan of the Scooby Doo universe. When I was younger, I followed the TV show and I see all the movie. And when you say go to the Scooby Doo ending, I was what? And you got he catch the one guys and he take off the head, and you have the old guy and say you if you never live there, my evil plan will work. I love that. It was very funny, the Scooby Doo ending. And yeah, it was a funny movie. I wish I would love this movie more, but I understand why this movie was a hit back then, and I understand why this movie created some era around Mike Myers, because after that, yes, he became pretty famous outside the SNL, and he had done many movies like the trilogy about Austin Power, other stuff like that. He was funny, and that I like that because Mike Myers is a Canadian, he's a comic Canadian, and he loved this country. He talked many times an interview about how he loved Canada, and I like that. And Dana Kirby, I like the guys. He's pretty much a comic. He's not a big as actor, but he's famous to be a very great impressionist. He done so many impressionists back then, like the George Bush impression, other politicians like that. He's very good to doing that, and I like the guys for that. And I don't know Tia Carey. I checked this filmography. She was a model and actress back then. I like this character in the movie. She has so a beautiful voice. Sorry, she is a beautiful actress, but I think this voice is so beautiful. This movie,
Excuse me.
the singer I like the way she sing. I check, and she had a career of music. She have many albums after this movie, and of course you have Rob Lowe. Rob Lowe was a comic, and he do many movie, and he pretty much famous as today for the Park Recreation TV show, where he's played this so happy guy. And this movie, he pretty much the bad guys of the movie. He just want to do money. He become famous with use the show of the Wayne world, and he perfect for the role. And there's so many cameo in it. I don't know all the cameo, but the cameo I remember, and I feel it was so weird. Is the Alice Cooper cameo, because you expect that Alice Cooper was weird character, so intense. But when asking about why he loved to go to Milwaukee, and he start to talk about the history of the city and the culture, and he's like, man, you're not the guy for the party, man. That's funny that Alice Cooper was so serious in the thing. And it's a funny thing, and I see this movie in French. In the French movie, Alice Cooper is not double. You learn you listen him in English, and you have some narrator after that narrate what he said. That weird choice to do for that.
No, I
But
didn't know that because I've never seen it in French, so I didn't know they did that. That is weird.
yeah, it's weird.
I don't know.
You don't have words in French. I don't know for what, but yeah. And in the end, I feel that it's a funny movie to see, an unique piece of comedy back then of Hollywood, and for the when the SN was so big. Now SN is something, but it's not as big as before. I like the show. I follow the show time to time. But today not as big as before. And before we have so many great name was working on it. Mike Myers, Will Ferrell, Jim Carrey, other than
Mhm.
many
Jim Carrey was never on SNL. He hosted it a few times, but he was never a cast member.
he was
Uh,
in the Saturday Night. He was in the. He created the character of Night of Roxbury. It was a sketch from SNL. He's not in movie, I think, but he created the sketch with
he
Will
did
Ferrell.
create the sketch when he appeared as a host, the guest host, because they have a weekly guest host. But he was never like a cast member. I think he did audition. I remember reading it. He did audition for it, but he was never cast.
I will believe you, and you have other great name. Dan Aykroyd, I
Oh yeah.
like this guy. You have another name from Ghostbuster. You have Dan Aykroyd. You have
Bill
Bill
Murray.
Murray. Bill Murray. Back then, Bill Murray was so big, and he started with
Hmm.
SNL. So yeah, SNL was something back then, and this movie is a good example of what it was SNL humor and universe it create. I see the Blues Border movie too. Was a good movie. Not the same kind of movie, but When World was unique in his own way. I'm not sure. I want to see the sequel, the When World 2. I feel it's the same. I don't
Mm,
want to watch this.
not worth it.
Okay, thanks. I don't want to watch
No.
the movie. So yeah, and I will. I'm curious to hear what Super Bowl think about this movie.
Yeah, as I said, I saw this a long time ago. I loved it, and I think it's very much a cultural artifact of its time,
Yeah.
um, very much. And as Matt was saying, it's based on an SNL sketch. Their cable access show that they do in the movie, that was the sketch on Saturday Night Live. It would be an episode of their cable access show. Um, and as Matt mentioned, this that was conceived by Mike Myers. Mike Myers was a Canadian. The character of Wayne Campbell actually did not originate on SNL. In the late '80s, Mike Myers, before he was cast on SNL, he was on a Canadian sketch TV show on the CBC that I think only lasted a year. I think it was called "It's Only Rock and Roll," and that's apparently where he did the Wayne Campbell character for the first time. And I think a couple of other characters that he later brought over to SNL. Um, this was the second movie ever made based off of an SNL sketch. The first one, as Matt mentioned, was the Blues Brothers. Um, and Wayne's World was a massive hit at the time it came out. So they ended up doing a whole bunch of other SNL movies in the 90s based on sketches, and most of them were pretty terrible. I think the only one that thought was okay was like Night at the Roxbury. But yeah, SNL. I think, or sorry, Wayne's World. I mean, I think it was just very much a cultural artifact of its time, and I think the reason it was such a big hit, it just resonated with people of a certain age bracket. Um, I think I always call this kind of like a Gen X movie because it's very much about people of that generation, the Generation X movie. I've always myself kind of identified with those people. I'm technically a millennial, but I just because growing up, most of the people who were around me and influenced me culturally, and just people in my personal life, family, whatever, that really had influenced me were from Generation X. So. Um, uh, Yeah, I can understand why maybe it would not appeal to someone who was outside of either wasn't alive or was very, very young when it came out, or people who were in an older age group when it came out. Um, because I remember I actually tried watching this movie with my parents a long time ago, and my mom did not like it at all, and we didn't even finish it.
Damn.
um, And also, this kind of came out at a time when, like, in pop culture, things were transitioning from especially like in the rock scene, things were transitioning from like hair metal, heavy metal to grunge, because this came out the year after like Nirvana's Nevermind came out, Pearl Jam's first album. It also came out the same year as Alice in Chains first album, Stone Temple Pilots. Um, but this, I think, is more in the hard rock vein and people of that generation, hair metal. and at least that's what I recognize. Because the sequel that came out after this, the music landscape and the pop culture landscape had changed so much that it was very. They tried to focus more on grunge, and it didn't work. um, but hold on, I have so many notes. I'm going to skip over some stuff. Some of it is just redundant. And I can understand why it not maybe appealing to some people because it's has a lot of pop culture references and a lot of non sequitur humor, and I think with anything that has a lot of pop culture references, especially the things that are current, it's inevitable that it will not age well because eventually, excuse me, those references will no longer be relevant. Um, and I think at least my enjoyment of it is partly that I enjoy, I just enjoy the humor, I enjoy it, and also a bit of nostalgia as well. Um, so this was directed by Penelope Spheres. Um, they chose her just because she had actually directed a lot of rock and roll documentaries. And she also directed a low budget film called Suburbia, which is another favorite of mine, which I will probably recommend if ever you ask me for another list. Um, that being said, she said she didn't enjoy the filming of this, and mostly, honestly, due to Mike Myers. Apparently, he was difficult to work with. She described him as being a bit kind of emotionally needy, and uh, she she said there was a time where Mike Myers actually stormed off the set because there was no margarine for his bagel. Um, Getting back to Mike Myers, yeah, Canadian from Toronto. He was on SNL at the time, and this, yeah, launched his movie career. He did a bunch of movies after this. So I Married an Axe Murderer, and then of course Austin Powers and everything. And then he made a couple of really bad stinkers that kind of killed his career. But yeah, this is at the time this launched his career. Dana Carvey, who was also an SNL cast member. Um, I love him as Guard. He's actually my favorite character in the movie. Um, Actually, Mike Myers, according to Dana Carvey, though, Mike Myers didn't even really want a Gart in the movie. He just wanted the movie to be about Wayne. But he was kind of convinced, well, Gart is your sidekick on this sketch you do on SNL, so he kind of has to be in the movie. And even then, he was trying to minimize Gart's role in the movie. And as Matt said, Tia Carrere, she did her own singing. She's done a few things acting wise. She was in the series Relic Hunter, but she's mostly done I think music since then. Rob Lowe, who was the TV executive, he his career was kind of bouncing back at the time, and I think this movie really helped because he had been involved in a scandal in I think the mid or late '80s involving a sex tape with an underage girl. Yeah, but his career I think was bouncing back at this time, and I think this movie really helped. Brian Doyle Murray, who plays the Arcano in Noah Vanderhoff, that is actually Bill Murray's brother. But he's a great actor in his own right, and he's been in so many things. Many of my favorite movies: Christmas Vacation, Scrooged, so many other things. Groundhog Day, he was in that. There were a few cameos by other people who were SNL actors at the time or previous SNL cast members. The late Chris Farley is in this. When they go to the club at the beginning of the movie, the bouncer who says, when Wayne asked him who's playing, and he's like, "Oh, the Jolly Green Giants and the Shitty Beatles." So that is actually Meatloaf, the singer Meatloaf, the late Meatloaf. At Stan Mikita's Donuts, the guy behind the counter is Ed O'Neill from Married with Children. He was a big star in that at the time. And as Matt mentioned, Robert Patrick, the T-1000 for Terminator 2. But Terminator 2 came out I think a year before this, and it was such a huge hit at the time. Again, it's completely random, non sequitur. There's a lot of that kind of humor in the movie. Um, the car from the movie, the Mertmobile, the 1980 AMC Pacer. I've actually seen that car in person. When I was a kid, when I was a teenager, they had it at Canada's Wonderland in Toronto, which at the time was owned by Paramount Parks. So they had a lot of memorabilia throughout the park of from their different movies. They had the bench from Forrest Gump too and other stuff. But I've seen that car in person. Um, I'm gonna skip over some stuff. The, again, going back to how it's very much of its time. They're doing a cable access show, which doesn't really exist anymore, as far as I know. Cable access, in a way, was sort of like maybe the YouTube of their time, because like a lot of like local TV stations would just do like low budget local content to fill airtime, and it's the kind of stuff that would air like at like in the middle of the night or on a Sunday afternoon or something like that. And in Canada we have that too, and in Quebec we had Télé Communautaire, and when we did have public broadcasters like Télé Québec, who did a lot of stuff like that. Not saying that Télé Québec never did anything good; they did absolutely great stuff. But there was a lot of like low budget crap, even, and like it wasn't hard. It wasn't even that hard to get like a cable access show. Uh, and there were even and it would and it was usually something almost similar to what we're doing here. It was like maybe a bunch of friends, guys, just sitting around in a like a plain background, sitting on chairs talking about whatever, talking about movies. So that's why it's kind of sort of like there's some parallels to sort of like YouTube. um, yeah. um, so yeah, there was a sequel which wasn't great. um, Actually, the DVD
Just
edition,
because you said that, I want to see it now.
the
I
DVD
like
edition
books.
that I have actually has the second movie on it, and I've never even watched it since I've owned it. I've seen the second one. I saw it before I had this, but I haven't seen it in at least 25 years. And I've never bothered to watch it since I've had it. It's yeah, it's just more of the same. And as I said, because the cultural landscape was changing at the time, they tried really lean heavily into more of the grunge aspect of things, and I just don't think it worked. Um, so yeah, another thing I noticed. This is just I don't know if you guys picked up on this, that donut shop they go to, Stan Mikita's Donuts. That is a parody of Tim Hortons, because Tim Horton was a hockey player for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I'm
Stan Mikita.
surprised they acknowledge it. So that movie is very much a Canadian product,
Well,
indeed.
yeah, because it's conceived by Mike Myers, and a lot of it is based on his own. Like the character Wayne
Experience.
Campbell, as I said, was developed on a CBC show, and it's very much based on his own experiences in Toronto, in his late teens, early adulthood. Um, and yeah, Stan Mikita's Donuts is a parody of Tim Hortons, because Tim Hortons was hockey player for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and Stan Mikita was because this movie takes place in Illinois near Chicago. Stan Mikita was a hockey player for the Chicago Blackhawks.
Wow.
uh,
Interesting.
yeah, and yeah, and as Matt said, the Scooby Doo ending. It's a movie that doesn't take itself seriously, which is good. But again, very much of its time. Things about it have not. There's a lot of things in it that have not aged well. I still enjoy it just because of nostalgia, and I was sort of maybe just under the target demographic for it when it came, and it just maybe captured a bit of this, pop culture zeitgeist of the time, especially music wise. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about it.
Thank you for sharing.
Mm,
And I will say I start recognizing
mm,
some of the movies you picked. I
mm,
I was wondering
mm,
before we started the show, I was wondering which one did you pick because I didn't remember you chose both.
mm,
That's why I was asking. But now that we kind of all got to speak about the movie, I see you chose Wayne's World because probably you enjoyed the musical aspect because I've
Yeah.
noticed some of your picks
Oh
is
yeah. Well, and there is great movie.
musical.
There is great music in
Yeah.
this movie. Tia Carrere singing. She did a cover of Ballroom Blitz, and I think one of the other songs is an original from hers. I'm not sure. There's music by Ugly Kid Joe, um, and Black Sabbath from the Dio era. And yeah, there's great music in this
And you
movie.
have Alice Cooper. He's
Alice
singing.
Cooper too. I loved his cameo in this movie because
I
Alice
will.
Cooper, even though he plays like a shock, his whole thing is like heavy metal and rock and shock and everything. The dude is like Alice Cooper. The character is an act. That's not even his real name. His real name is Vincent Fournier. It's an act. He's acknowledged it. It's an act. He's not like that in real life. The dude is known for putting on golf tournaments. So
I will second what one of you said. Basically, this movie didn't age that well, to be honest.
yeah.
It's not the worst thing I've seen. I've quite enjoyed it mostly, but it's on par of many other movies we covered, such as Joe's Apartment and the other movie. I think that was the Blues Brother that we covered that week. Did we? Was
I think
that
we did
Joe's
we did that
Apartment or
one I think
Blues
last
Brother?
week as an after show. I don't think you've
Oh
posted
yeah,
it. I don't
okay.
think you've posted it yet.
Yeah, yeah. So that was the second musical, the same. It reminded me the second musical we covered on Joe's Apartment. I that thing
That
you do.
that thing you do.
That was what I was searching for. But you're right. So, I will say Wayne's World was enjoyable at best. That's what I can say. I had three issues, but they do weight a lot in the balance. My first issue was the humor just didn't age well at all. It just didn't work.
Mhm.
There were funny moments throughout. Like I won't lie, I did chuckle a bit here and there, but I just think it's a time capsule where if I was in 1992, I would most have likely probably laughed a lot, but
Mhm.
now it's just not that accurate to what's going on right now. Uh, so that's my first issue. My second issue would be acting. I that over the top thing we had like in the 80s and the 90s. I I I just don't connect with it. Again, it's a product of its time. I don't see that kind of movie being made today, and that's a good thing, I guess, for a viewer like me. That's more into more modern stuff. My third and last issue with Wayne's World, the dialogue didn't age well. I found it off-putting. So that's in the same vein as the humor. I think some of the dialogue you're like nobody would speak that way, and I get it. It's a movie, but like
It's funny you say that. When you're done, I'll mention something. But yeah.
I I I like it when the characters speak like characters, or I should say like humans. You know, like um. So yeah, I guess these were my three issues. Now there's a few enjoyable thing. I admit since the movie kept going in many direction, it wasn't boring. So like there was always something going on, and someone that has ADHD will keep his attention span like focused on what's going on in the movie because there's always something going on, and you can't really expect what happens next. And I guess that's part of what's kind of cool about it. The love interest that's also a singer was enjoyable. Movie was great at showing overtelling. The movie costume department was good at making characters look apart. Uh, I think that's important. Uh, it's important because sometimes maybe your character are not the most memorable ones, but you end up making very cool costume, and you're like, that's this character, and that's their character the way they dress. And not a lot of movies do that, to be honest, today. And maybe that did work in the favor of that movie because it's a time capsule again. Uh, the lead running everything he does was kind of cool. I admit I did chuckle when even the cameraman was about to leave Wayne. That was probably my favorite punchline in that movie. Like everyone is leaving him at, like even the cameraman is just moving away. It's like that's savage. I like it. That's my kind of humor. Um, the three different ending were a nice concept, really cool, really enjoyable, and it made the hour and a half worth watching because you're like it goes in every direction and now you're there with like three different ending, and that was fun. So thank you a lot for suggesting that. I will ask Matt, any closing thoughts or anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I forgot to talk about something. The reason why I know this movie. 3 years ago, we have a movie about the band Queen, biopic about the Queen band, a Bohemian Rhapsody movie. And then in the movie, we have Mike Myers play the producer, and he say to the band, Bohemian Rhapsody, the song never worked. Nobody want to listen this song in the car. And why he's in the movie? Why he say that is because this movie he was choose to go in the biopic Queen movie because he have done Wayne World and what he has seen in the intro when he play Bohemian Rhapsody in this card with his friend. All friends are like are so intense with the song. This scene become famous,
It
and
became
because of
iconic. Yeah.
yeah, and because of that, Mike Myers was cast in the biopic of Queen, and he played this producer. And the line he
Yeah.
said is a reference of this movie.
Yeah, exactly. I have not seen the Queen biopic yet, but I know a lot of people who have it and who have seen it. And I've read about the scene. Like I think his exact words is, "Nobody will ever headbang to Bohemian Rhapsody,"
Yeah, exactly.
which he did in this movie. That actually almost got cut. Mike Myers didn't want that, and I think it was Penelope Spheres who fought to keep that in the movie. And I think the studio wanted them to use something more contemporary. They wanted to use like I think a Guns N' Roses song, so I forget who it was specifically that insisted on Bohemian Rhapsody, but anyways. Mhm.
That so yeah, that's why I know the extent of this movie because the movie about the Queen band. When Mike Myers talk about this role in the movie, he said because Wayne World is in this movie. So fun fact about that.
Well, thank you for sharing. What would be your grade out of 10, Matt?
So I know this movie is famous, it's big hit back then, but for me the humor was too much. I like so many things in the movie, like the cameo of the Terminator and Bohemian Rhapsody scene and the teaser gun, etc. But in the end, for me, it's not a big comedy movie. I like Mike Myers. He's a funny guy, and I see him in so many stuff. Now he's not as big as before. He tried so many things. Sometimes that's not working. He will be back in next year with Shrek 5 because he's play the character Shrek
Mhm.
in the movie. But other than that, he's not big anymore. Is that sad because he was a big comic from Canada back then. And Austin Powers, all the movie was a classic for comedy. But for One World, I feel the movie deserve a less 6 of 10. It's not a bad movie, but for me, it was not a hit. I understand why it's a hit, but not for me. I give a 6 because it deserves that for what it is.
Thank you for sharing. So I will be very close to you with a 7 out of 10 because I think it was enjoyable despite my three issues. It's like, oh, that's a fun experience. Would I rewatch? I don't think so. But yeah, a 7. That's what I think it deserves. What about you, Superbald? What would be your grade out of 10 for
Yeah.
Wine's World?
I just want to address two things you said. Like, I when you said that it's like a time capsule, I agree with that. It's very much sort of like a snapshot of like pulp culture of that time, the cultural zeitgeist in the probably in the states and at the time. Um, Second, you said people don't talk about it. Actually, I remember at the time this movie very much influenced the way kids talked. A lot of catchphrases from the movie, like saying "sha," like when you're like you think something is like bullshit. It's like "sha," and monkeys might fly out of my butt, the type of thing. And also one thing that was a lot of people did that was I don't know if this movie created it or if it just made it popular, but at the time a lot of a way to be sarcastic about something was to say "not" at the end. Like if you thought a movie was bad, you would say something like, "That was a great movie." Not. They do that a lot in this movie, and I remember me and my friends we used to do that a lot, and it was a thing for a while. So in a way, yeah, I
I'm
think.
glad it didn't stick around.
Yeah.
That's so weird. Like, it's so alien.
hmm Um, and Matt brought up the Bohemian Rhapsody. I'm amazed that I didn't even mention that because that was so iconic at the time that a lot of people who never even seen the movie they know that scene and they know it's from Wayne's World, where they had bang in the car to a Bohemian Rhapsody. Um, yeah, so as I said, I think my enjoyment of this movie is part, yeah, I enjoy the humor, I recognize it, but also nostalgia. So, and as I said, I can understand why maybe younger people, older people, or people from different cultural backgrounds would not really like this movie or get it. Um, but my grade is going to be an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. We got 6, 7, and 8. I'm right in the middle. Very interesting. Thank you guys for sharing. What do you have going on your end of the internet, Superbold?
Nothing.
That happens. That happens. Well, thank you very much for joining in. What about you, Matt? What do you have going on your end of the internet?
Uh, Nothing new, I see stuff and I write about them. For this month, I do a big marathon about the Halloween franchise. I see 6 movie as today. I hope to be finished this marathon before the end of the month. It's a big run because you have a 12 movie to see, and many of these movies are not good. I see many of them are not good as a start, like the second one or the 5 one. But I will continue because I want to see that for me. I do that in the last year with the Friday the 13th franchise. This year will be Halloween, and who's known for the next year. But yeah, other than that, I see stuff and write about them, and nothing new. And new multi.
Well, a lot is going on. Wednesday, which is tomorrow, Tron Ares. I ended up seeing all 3 Tron movies. It's my least favorite, but it adds something, and
Really?
I'm surprised it it has such a low score. The movie's not perfect, but like I'm shocked how it's poorly received like across the board. So it's my least favorite, but I'm shocked how everyone looks like they hated it, and I enjoyed it, but I didn't think it was the best one by any means.
What on just one of the big problem with this movie for many people is Jared Leto is a famous actor, yeah, but so many people don't like him. He's a weird character, and he had done so bad movie in the past few years. So this reputation is not good. So he's not maybe not the perfect actor to sell this movie. I would
and
say I would
and
say
you say that, but I think he is actually Ares, if I'm right.
yeah.
I'm shocked to hear that because you see, one of the flaws was clearly the characters, but Ares was probably the best part of it. So I don't understand how people would hate on Jared Leto. Like he is not
I,
perfect, but like
I would say that start because he played the worst version of Joker and the DCU and the Suicide Squad, the first Suicide Squad movie, and this version was so hate for so many people, and I understand why. And after that, he have done Mobius. Uh,
oh yeah, that's a disaster. That thing is unwatchable. I regret watching that thing.
and recently, I done the House of Gucci. He played one of the Italian character. He has a weird accent in it. He have a suit because he's fat. This character is fat, and that one not working enough. And he has some bad chores, and he's so intense that you need to search about him. He's so intense outside of the of movie. And now when he tried to sell a movie, many people are not go to see the movie because of him. But he's a big fan of Tron. He's the man
Wow, I
revived,
didn't know. What?
and
What?
yeah, he's the one produced this movie because Tron is the second one was a fail, and after that the sequel was cancelled, and that take 15 year to do this one, and because Jared Leto is a big fan, he pushed Disney to do it, and why is the main actor and the producer of the movie.
Wow. Wow,
Yeah.
that's shocking. If you're available tomorrow, that'd be great if we have a chat about.
I can be something
Oh,
tomorrow. I
okay.
can be there.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, that's the teaser for tomorrow. Thursday or Friday, most likely. I don't know when exactly, but at some point this week, Peacemaker season 2. That will be a big stream because if I'm alone, I will really dive deep into it. If I got other guests, well, we will have a discussion like the one we just had tonight about my cousin Vinny and Wayne's World. Um, Also, next Saturday, most likely, or Friday evening, very late, more politics because it's enjoyable to talk about that. With that being said, next Tuesday, I am very excited about James Bond again. A What I think is a very underrated James Bond and a godly awful one that I think everyone will agree to say is
The last
terrible.
one with Bruce Brosnan is something unique to see. It's one of the worst, I think, of the franchise.
Yeah, it is. As someone that's a big fan, I cannot defend that one. But I will admit, that's a guilty pleasure. I think it's a terrible movie. I liked. It's not a good movie at all, but I enjoyed my time because James Bond, but terrible movie. That's the teaser for next Tuesday. And be reassured, superbald. I do think The World Is Not Enough is truly underrated. I
Mhm.
really like that one. Um, Monday or Wednesday next week, we have Black Phone 2 and Black Phone the original because we only got 2 movies in that franchise, and I really enjoyed the first one, and I'm very excited about the sequel. It's rare I'm excited about a sequel of a horror flick. Last time was like that was with Small 2. I really liked Small 2 last year. Anyhow, this is the plan, and we will be out in a moment.
Yeah, that blue podcast. Come check the scene. Movies old and new. Know what I mean? The Red Blue Podcast. Come check the scene. Movies old and new. Know what I mean?